Welcome to Howz Yer Stool, the show where we pull up a stool and find out how things are really going. Not just the gigs, not just the music, but what's happening when the amps and the lights get turned off. Because if you ask a musician how they're doing, you'll get one answer. But if you check their stool, you might get the truth. I'm your host, Dave Randall, and today I'm sitting down with Randy Bowen. So let's get a stool sample. Well, we're here.
We're here.
Randy Bowen, thank you very much for coming out and sitting down with me today. And like we were just talking, it's just a conversation. And heck, I know you back to Lindsay days, but I don't really know you. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, and where you grew up, and we'll sort of dive in there, kind of get the interviewee stuff out of the way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was born in Verdun. My dad, both my parents always worked. My dad had trouble finding a career path until he found teaching. So he went to teaching college at McDonald.
McDonald College.
McDonald College.
Yeah.
So I was. We lived in Verdun till I was 4, and then we moved to St. Anne's because that's where he was going to school. We lived in St. Anne's till I was 7, and then we moved to Pointe Claire, where we could afford to buy a house, a semi-detached thing. And that's where I grew up, on Del Mar, in Pointe Claire.
Okay.
Yeah.
My
and I grew up in the fields, because it's all fields, right?
Well, yeah. West Island. There, Lakeside Heights.
Yeah. On my bike.
Yeah.
I just go sit in the fields. I go sit. I find a clump of bushes. I go just sit there.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was all by myself. It was fantastic.
Is this when you started getting interested in music? Or?
Well, I got interested in music because I have 2 older brothers, and they both played guitar. My middle brother played sax as well, and my eldest brother played the bass. And he started a band in. Was he still in high school? Doesn't matter. But they rehearsed in our basement, and there was a drum kit down in the basement. And my cousin and I were kind of like brothers because my mom and his mom were almost like twins. You know, my aunt Annie Joni lived in LaSalle, and we lived in Pointe Claire, and they'd swap us off each weekend. So Neil would come stay with me, and then I'd go stay with him. So we literally grew up together. And so Neil and I would sneak down in the basement and look at that drum kit. Now, the guitars, whatever. We'd look at that drum kit. And we'd sit on the throne. We'd go sit on the throne and pick up the sticks.
And you're how old here?
8.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was like wild, and we just tapped the snare drum because we were warned, don't touch anything, right? Okay, and we didn't, but it was just so exciting,
sure,
and then so my brother, my eldest, my brother's band, I don't know, it was a high school band. They did 1 gig at Sunnyside,
that was my park, yeah.
Exactly, and that was it. And then the drum kit went away, and all the gear went away, and my brother got interested in photography, other stuff, right? But he was always interested in music, and so we always had, even when we lived in St. Anne's, he somehow found a record player. We had no money, my parents couldn't afford. Both of them worked all the time. I had a key to my house in Pointe Claire. When we first moved there, I was 7. I had my own key. I'd come home, I'd unlock the door, I'd make my own lunch when I was 7, and walk back to Northview. Yeah, it was freedom, right? It was fantastic. But that was, we didn't have a nanny or anything like that, or there's no daycare.
No.
Yeah, whatever. And anyway, my brother Gary always had. He borrowed a record player or something, one of those box things.
Yes.
And I remember when he brought home Rubber Soul by the Beatles. That's it's not my first musical memory. My first musical memory was, there was a song called Action by Freddie Fender. And it was like a not a B-side, but it was like a secondary hit for Freddie Fender.
Sure.
And I just love that song. And I heard it for the first time since then, about 20 years ago. And I thought, wow, but I know I liked it because I've always liked it, like the Dave Clark Five and the Beatles, because they have call and answer vocals. I've always loved call and answer vocals.
Sure.
Or Get Off My Cloud. Hey. I always liked that. And so that was my first musical memory. Then I remember seeing the Supremes on Ed Sullivan.
Okay.
And I thought it was the most glamorous thing I'd ever seen. I thought, all arms, and
glittery costumes.
Glittery and slender, and
the hair.
And the hair, the bouffant hair and all that stuff. And I didn't care. I had no idea. They were just beautiful ladies, I had no concept of whatever. I didn't care. I just loved the music and I loved them. I remember that. I'll never forget that. Then I saw the Beatles a second time on Ed Sullivan, not the first time, the one that really blew the doors off their career. And then we moved to Point Claire, and then my brother had the band, and then he bought a nice stereo. So he had a dual, I don't remember, dual turntables, and he had a little Pioneer power amp, and he had Koss cans, headphones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Top shelf stuff.
Yeah, back then. He was very generous, and he let me listen to all his records. He said, I just want you to take care of them. I was just a young buck, right? And he trusted me with his records, and he had lots. That was his thing, And so I remember In the Court of the Crimson King. I remember when he brought that on. I was only 10, right?
Yeah.
And that album blew my mind. I thought, what, And Santana and all that stuff from, late 60s. And it was really, it just, for some reason, it just spoke to me. I couldn't stop listening to it.
It worked well with your grassy knoll out in the field.
That's right. The grassy knolls all over the place, I used to go in there because everybody smoked back then, right? My dad was a heavy smoker. Yeah. He smoked at the kitchen table. And you walk down and breakfast, and my mom put up with it. My mom never smoked. Anyway, so I started smoking in grade 4 because I go get smokes from my old man at the drugstore up on Braybrook, the little mall there.
Yeah.
And there's a pharmacy, and I go buy smokes, and I'd save up, money. I go buy my own pack of smokes because they were only 20 cents or something. It's nothing
back then.
I know, nothing. And so I go smoke in the grassy knolls by myself.
Yeah.
And grade 4.
And think about life.
And think about life. I don't even know. I don't even know what I thought. Anyway.
Well, it's wonderful that you were comfortable with yourself at that time.
I was, yeah. I loved, there was so much freedom, right? I had so much freedom. It was crazy. Like kids today don't have that type of freedom at all. You have to tell, it wasn't like my parents were neglectful or uninterested.
Yes.
They were just working.
Yes.
And but I had, because my old man had become a teacher, I had to pay attention in school. That was the one invariable, the one law. You got to pay attention to your classes, in your classes. And I was sort of lucky because I liked school and I liked my teachers. And I was a good student. I wasn't a great student, but I was a good student. And I did really like my teachers. I don't know why. I just liked them, almost every single one of them.
Which elementary school?
Northview.
You went to Northview? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Lindsay Course.
Yeah.
And I just kept listening to music. Then one of the big things that happened to me was in grade 7, because we moved from Northview to Lindsay, grade 7. And so now there are kids from Valois, so at Northview we had Dollard kids, bussed in.
Yep.
And then Lindsay we had the Dollard kids and the Valois kids.
Yes.
Right? So
the townies.
The townies, yeah. And which was great. And so I met my buddy Tom in grade 7. We were in the same class, same homeroom class. And we became fast friends. And are still to this day. And we were both crazy about music. And so we'd go over to his place. He had a stereo, not as nice as my brother's, but he had a stereo. And we discovered David Bowie together.
Wow.
And Roxy Music. But David Bowie was really the beacon, the beacon of, this would have been 74, 73.
The prime of his
career. Yeah. I mean, you could
arguably
the prime of his career.
Yes.
But really, certainly the coming out of his career, right, when he became a household name. Right?
Yeah.
And, oh my God, like Ziggy Stardust, I just like, okay.
Yeah.
I knew from that moment, I didn't know how, but I knew. Even though my brothers both played guitar and their guitars around the house, and I had, in my mom's side of the family, there's lots of music. So like my uncle was a barbershop singer and he played the ukulele and the banjo, and that side of the family always got together for dinners.
Yes.
And so there's always music around. So my Uncle Al and he could whistle like crazy. So he would play Ain't Misbehaving, and stuff. It was really neat, right?
Yeah.
And I had two older cousins, brothers, and they had a duo, and I thought they were Simon and Garfunkel. They play the guitar and sing that. My cousin Wayne has a beautiful voice. He just opens his mouth and his beautiful voice comes out, And so we grew up around that. There's always music around. And even though there was guitars around the house all the time, I didn't know what to do with the thing, My cousin Neil and I would look at it, because we would play air guitar on my Auntie Joni's tennis rackets.
Yes.
And we jump on the bed and we put the Beatles on Rolling Stones, and we'd air guitar. But then one day, I guess I was in grade 10. Yeah, it must have been maybe grade 9, doesn't matter. We were over at a buddy's place, not a close friend, but he lived on Ivanhoe. I think it was Ivanhoe, one of the crescents.
Yeah, I know the area.
Yeah, and of course, this is when we started smoking dope, right? So I started smoking dope. To be honest, I gave up smoking cigarettes in grade 7 and started smoking dope in grade 8. Isn't that funny? And I loved it. I loved it. It became the music, the dope, like it became a culture, We didn't get in trouble. It was just Tom and I would puff and put on Aladdin Sane, and just, or anything, And anyway, one day we were in this guy's basement, we're smoking dope, and there was a guitar there. And I think we were listening to Band on the Run, or I don't remember, doesn't matter. And I picked it up and I went, that's how you hold it. Mm-hmm. I had this epiphany.
Left-handed, like Paul McCartney?
No, it was right-handed. And I of course, I couldn't form a chord. Sure. I didn't know anything, but I felt it.
Yeah.
And I went, that's how you do it. A little light went on. And so both my brothers and my cousin Neil, when we both started high school, he's a year older than me, we drifted off because we weren't spending the weekends together anymore. Up till when we were 12, we spent every weekend together. But then he found friends in high school, just like I found friends in high school, and we split apart. We're always friendly, but we just had different interests. He was much more cerebral, and he had found a guitar during this period when we were adolescents. That would be the word we use, eh? And so I was in this guy's basement. I picked up the guitar. I went, that's it. And simultaneously, Neil had already started learning chords. And my brothers, of course, both played. So the three of them would show me something when they found out that I was interested in playing. And so Neil taught me the first song, Heart of Gold. I mean, I couldn't even, but E minor 7th and the D, okay, cool. And the G, yay. And then I couldn't put the thing down. So through high school, and there was some classmates in high school who also played and were better than me. And one guy's name's Dave, and there was Linda, and somebody else. But anyway, we were all pooling information, you know. There's another guy from Beaconsfield. And
what was your year? What was your graduating year?
76.
Oh, so you're 2 years ahead of me.
Yeah. So there's a guy by the name of Dave. There's two Daves. And one of them was quite good. And he was in a grade older than me. And then there's another Dave from Beaconsfield. And he had a Strat. Yeah. Big time, you know. Whoa. Anyway, we all sort of shared stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And then high school ended, and I applied for CJEP. I had no intention of going to CJEP. I didn't know this. I wanted to play rock and roll, right? I knew what I wanted to do. And so, but I applied because that's what you did, you know. And that summer, after I graduated, I worked. And then the fall came, and because I applied at Dawson New School, I wanted to go to music. I wanted to go to music school. Mm-hmm. So I applied at Marianopolis. I think that's the place with the music program.
Sounds right.
I think it's Marianopolis.
Sounds right, yeah.
But of course, I couldn't read music. I'm a rock and roll guy. So I couldn't. I took grade 9 music when I was in grade 11 and learned to read because I played alto sax for that 1 year.
Okay.
I loved it. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic. And I played in the junior band, and it was just terrific. But my reading skills were just like zero, right? So there's no way I could pass the entrance exam to Marianopolis. So Dave Patton, you know, our buddy,
sure.
He went to the new school, the Dawson New School down on McGill downtown, this old building right across from Victoria Square. And he said, why don't you apply there? Okay, because you can. The new school was you can make your own curriculum. So you met your professor, and you would flesh out a curriculum. I didn't even know what a curriculum meant, you know. And so I knew I got accepted.
Wow.
And then right after Labor Day, when I was supposed to go down to register, I said, nope. I didn't say anything to anybody. I guess I told my dad, and he said, well, I guess you better go look for a job, because I don't want to, you know, I want to buy a guitar. So I put on my my grad suit, the suit that my parents bought for me for the graduation, you know, it was a double-breasted, you know,
typical 70s.
Typical 70s classic, you know.
Herb Tarlick.
And I went up and down Hymas, and I went up and down the service road. I went to every company. I went to Avon. I went to GM and Chrysler and all that stuff.
That experience. Sorry, I don't interrupt. I had that exact same experience.
Yeah.
And that is how I memorized my social insurance number.
Yeah, totally.
I must have written it 20 times in a day.
Oh, totally. I know. I could, you know.
So you were searching for a job. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, so I went and I got a job sweeping floors at Ryder Machinery, just east of Delmar on the south side of the.
Yeah, I know where it is.
Yeah, and I was there for 4.5 months, which seemed like an eternity back then, right? But my parents were supportive. They didn't say no, you know, you're going to school. But if I was going to live at home, I had to pay room and board. If I'm not in school, I got to pay room and board. Okay, cool. And so I got the job, and I bought my Les Paul.
Wow. That's a big investment.
It's a big investment. I bought it secondhand down on St. Antoine at the pawn shops there.
Yep.
And
Jack's?
No, it wasn't. It was called. It might have been Jack's, because there was Steve's, of course, but Steve's was only the one shop, the one room. There was Jack's. There was Golden's.
Yeah.
There's
some that just didn't have
some
names.
that didn't have names. It might have been in Golden's. It doesn't matter. It was a secondhand thing. But I didn't get ripped off.
No.
It was beautiful. It was a Les Paul Custom, black Les Paul Custom.
Still have it?
No, it got ripped off.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, we can talk about that later. It was a marvelous guitar. Heavy.
Yeah.
You know, one of the heavier Les Pauls.
Okay.
Those mid-70s Les Pauls were really heavy.
The
Too
logs.
heavy, really. You know?
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people with say that they end up with sore backs, sore necks.
Yeah, sore necks and stuff. I never had that, but they were definitely, it was way too heavy. And then I got bored with that job, so I got a job washing dishes at Pfizer.
Okay.
I don't know how I got that gig, and I wanted to play guitar, so this was a part-time job. I could still pay the room and board at home, and so it was a 5-hour-a-day job, 4.5 hours. I go to them, wash dishes, and they were good to me. And I bought, then I saved up and bought my Marshall. I bought the head first, and then I bought a cab. All again down one of them.
Yeah.
I bought the cab at Melody something. It was right beside Golden's. Doesn't matter. I can't remember the name of it.
I remember that whole block.
I remember the whole block. And I walked in, and it was an Ampeg V4. So I couldn't find a Marshall cab, or I couldn't afford a Marshall cab, whatever it was. Everything had to be secondhand, but didn't matter. And
That's actually, the way to go.
Yeah, and the V4 cab was actually quite a nice cab. So I bought that, and so I had my Les Paul, I had my Marshall 50 watt, and I had the V4 cab. I'm ready to rumble. It's good. So
were you playing with other people at that time?
No, I was getting ready to play with other people. And I started, and it wasn't like it was organized. That's the way it just sort of played out, right?
Okay.
I was accumulating this gear, and then I met this guy. We had moved in grade 11. We moved from Point Claire to Beaconsfield.
Okay.
My parents had bought. My dad had got a consulting job, because he was sort of he was ambitious, and he got a consulting job with the Greenfield Park School Commission, which paid more money, and so he wanted to strut a little bit. So we bought this house in Beacon Hill that we couldn't afford, but it had been empty for 2 years, and it had been a repo, and it belonged to one of the expos. Willie Smith or Willie Davis. Anyway, I'm pretty sure Willie Davis went through divorce. Repo people came in, ripped the house apart, ripped all the wallpaper off the walls. Sure. They just made a mess of the place.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful, ranch style, dark wood, really beautiful place. And we moved in there, and we had furniture to put in the place. But I had my own room in the basement with a big, thick door. It was his temple, because he was a Buddhist, so it was his temple, and I lived in his temple. And all I did was play guitar. I practiced 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day. I don't remember how much. I couldn't stop. And then I met a guy. I met some of the kids in the neighborhood, because I was on the bus for the first time in my life, and I actually got to school on time for the first time in my life, because I always walked to school. And I'd be walking through the fields. I'd hear the Lindsay bells ring, because you had 3 minutes or 4 minutes between the two bells, remember?
Yeah.
Anyway, and I met some of the kids on the bus, and they're talking music and blah blah, and this guy knows that guy, and they're having a jam in his basement, and do you want to come along? Yeah, it'd be great. And Dave Patton was one of those kids.
Okay.
And anyway, I met this guy at one of these jams. I couldn't tell you which jam and whose basement it was, but he became my first musical partner. So he was from Beaconsfield. His name was Sandy Filto. And he lived on the other side of St. Charles Road, the west side of St. Charles Road, down near the tracks. And he came from his family, I think there are 4 or 5 kids. And anyway, he played the bass, and he was as serious about it as I was. And you could tell right away.
I think I know who that Sandy was.
Yeah, you would have seen him.
Played a Rickenbacker.
Rickenbacker.
Yeah, I remember him, sure.
Exactly.
He passed away.
He did pass away.
Some years ago.
Yeah, in 98. I got a funny story about that, actually. Not about his passing, but Sandy had a wicked sense of humor. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so he was the first guy, and so it was with Sandy and I we wanted to meet people. We wanted to do something. And so we got our first band together from local guys. There was a guy that played the drums and another guitar player. And we formed this band called Cobalt Blue.
I remember that.
Remember Cobalt Blue?
I do, yes.
Imagine.
I love that name.
Yeah.
Somebody went to chemistry class.
Well, that was our buddy Derek. He didn't play, and Derek was sort of our pseudo sound man. There was, whatever.
Yeah.
All we had were a couple of vocal mics.
Yes.
But he would, whatever. And he was a good guy. And it was his name, and I thought, this is absurd, but everybody liked it.
It was, for the time, it was a very groovy name.
Okay, cool. I'm glad. I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we did that, and then we lasted about a year, and we did play chalets, and we played church basements and stuff.
Yeah.
And there was...
I think you played Lindsay.
We played Lindsay. Yeah, sure. We played BHS. We made our own shows.
That's fast. Like, you were your first band, and you're out gigging.
We were determined.
Yeah.
Sandy and I were like, yeah, we're going to do this.
Now, did you have a format that covers, obviously, at that time? But did you have a format, like we're doing hard rock, pop rock, anything, or just whatever you felt like?
Well, basically whatever we could play.
I see. Yes.
Right? So we'd do Beatles. I saw her standing there. Whatever we could play, well enough to satisfy our own, that we could actually stand up there and play it without being embarrassed, right? So we did early Aerosmith stuff, Walking the Dog and Mama Kin, and we got a bit ambitious. We did Dream On, which was, probably a little bit out of our league. It was all out of our league. But we didn't know. We just tried to do what we could do. We did Hotel California, huge hit, right? And,
yeah.
We had two guitar players, so we could do the kind of hack through the lead, at the end. And Sandy was a pretty good singer, and the other guitar player had a nice voice too. So we had three vocals,
nice.
Which was unusual for a bunch of kids.
It definitely is, yeah.
And we used them.
Yeah.
So we played Badfinger and stuff with vocals, Beatles, and I Want to Hold Your Hand, and that sort of stuff. But there was no form. We just stuff that we could actually handle. And we were open. We didn't, we weren't going to play Genesis or anything like that. Not that we didn't. We love Genesis, but we're not going to play that. I can't play it. Can't even figure out where do you start.
You need keyboards and
stuff. Yeah.
Extra stuff.
Exactly. So that's how we started. And then we lasted about a year. And then our drummer at the time, his name was Steve, terrific guy. His parents moved out to the West Coast, and we all went, like a dagger. Steve, you're not leaving. The brotherhood, and that really set us back.
Yeah.
We were just 19 years old or whatever. I don't remember, 20. And we found another drummer through a mutual friend, Arnie, and he came along, but it took a few months to get to get back on our feet, and because we were staggered by it. It wasn't funny. And so Arnie joined us, and we added a third guitar player, Al Miller.
I remember him.
Yeah, and Al was as serious as Sandy and I. So now it was Al, Sandy, and I sort of driving the machine. And so we changed our name to the Refugees, and we auditioned for an agent. Am I talking too much?
Not at all.
Yeah.
What do you think, folks? As you tell them shut up?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Yeah. That's what they're here for. If I do this, it's just I'm checking, make sure everything's still running.
Yeah. Anyway, so we auditioned for this agent, and we got a gig. And there was a gig at there used to be a place in Ile Perrot called the Auberge. It was right on the water. It was an old hotel. It's gone. It's been gone for, I think they tore it down in 83 or something. It was at the end of its time. But we got a gig there, got paid, which is cool. And we did really well. We thought we did really well. We're 5-piece, and it was 3 nights, and I think we made $600. I don't remember.
Wow.
I know. And then we sort of passed the audition, and so we got the agent. The agents said, "Okay, we'll send you here next week, and we'll send you there next week." Right. So we were working, and at that time, most of the gigs were 5 nights, 6 nights, so you go to Rock Island, you play for 6 nights, or you wherever we went, and it was a minimum 4 nights, unless it was early in the week. We played a gig at the Old Friars Pub on St. James on Drummond, and that was Monday to Wednesday, and we played up in Brownsburg. There was a place called the Brownsburg Hotel. We played up there a lot. This is over a stretch of 4 months.
Sure.
Although it's felt like 4 years because we were playing all the time. We're trying to manage our voices, trying to manage the band politics, all that. Just young guys trying to figure it out, right? Girlfriends had come into the picture, so loyalties were split, and we were trying to figure all this stuff out.
Sure.
Yeah, and but one thing that was consistent was we were serious about the music, about playing the music. So we were, we didn't screw around, and we were on time, and all that stuff, and we were just learning. And singing, there was one stretch we played 11 nights in a row, but in 3 different venues. We didn't have to travel. We're just going up north or downtown, whatever. But still, for young singers, trying to keep your voice together was challenging. And I discovered I had allergies. I didn't know I had allergies. And I'd had allergies all my life, but I'd never been tested.
Right.
I was constantly getting sore throat infections.
Yeah.
In high school, I missed a lot of, and in elementary school too, I missed a lot of, not a lot, but every year I was home for at least a week.
Okay.
On antibiotics, at least once every year. I didn't know. And the doctor never said anything,
Just part of your childhood.
Just part of my childhood. Give me drugs and okay, and whatever. So, but when we started gigging all the time, I started to suspect that I was allergic to whatever, because these are old places. These weren't clean places. These were dirty, musty bars.
Sure. Cigarette smoke.
Everybody's still smoking.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I learned pretty early that I couldn't smoke dope anymore. If I was going to keep my voice together, because up in that Brownsburg gig, there was a bunch of Hell's Angels up there one night, and that was wild. But they're cool with us. Like we ran into them over the years in different cities. They never mess with the musicians, right? They're opposite. They're very supportive of the musicians because we're all renegades, right?
Sure.
Even though quite different lifestyles, but whatever. But anyway, one of the Hells guys gave me this big chunk of hash, and so it was the first week we played Brownsburg, so we played Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we're going to go to that Friars Pub gig Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then back to Brownsburg for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Sunday night, it's the end of Brownsburg. We decided to smoke a big spliff, and after the gig, and because we didn't drink or smoke during the gig, or during the day, nothing like that.
Yeah, sure.
Only after. Wake up Monday, go down to the gig, and do sound check, and my voice is toast. It's gone. And it's the first time I'd ever lost my voice singing, And we're looking, because now we had 4 singers. It was good. So Gabe sang, Sandy sang, Al sang, I sang. So everybody sang songs. I sang most of the songs just by default because I put my hand up, that's all. Not because I was a better singer. And so we got through it. I did my best, and then I guess it was on the Wednesday night. My voice is still like just shredded, and we're in every gig used to have a dressing room, right? That's long gone. Those days are long gone. But dressing rooms are a whole other conversation. But there's a dressing room in this little tiny pub. The pub was only about as wide as this room, and it was a watering hole. And so we're in the dressing room, sitting the 5 of us, and the door opens. It's the manager. He goes, "Get your best set together. There's a guy from Capitol Records here." And we're looking at each other, and my voice is shredded. Oh no! So we go out and we played "Could Have Been a Lady." The first song was "Could Have Been a Lady" by April Wine, right? Yeah. And it turns out it's Jerry
Oh, Jesus.
from April Wine.
Okay.
And he's got his Capitol Records jacket on. You know,
Okay.
one of those satin
Yeah.
things, right? And he was and he laughed. He came up. He's such a gregarious fellow, eh? And he comes up and he goes, "Well, I've never heard that song played that fast before."
Nice.
Yeah, and it was very exciting, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, and as the week went on, my voice started to return. But anyway, that band flamed out about the end of November. So we gigged almost nonstop for those 12 weeks, almost every night for those 12 weeks. But we were trying to figure out the politics, and one guitar player didn't like the other guitar player. There was no fights or anything like that. It was just friction and you know, stuff, the usual stuff, right? And we decided, okay, we need a break. You know, so the drummer and Sandy and myself, we're looking at each other going, one of the guitar players went back to school. One of the guitar players went to find a job because we were all just flustered and, you know, whatever. And so Sandy and Arnie, I looked at it, what are we going to do? We didn't know. So the agent called us up probably the next day and said, there might be an opportunity there's a professional singer that's looking for some band guys, and do you want to go meet him? And so, yeah, sure. So we went to meet him, and it turned out to be Larry Hughes from the band Lyrock.
Yeah, I remember.
And Lyrock had 3 different phases, right? There was the first phase, which I used to go watch at the Mapes. Mm-hmm. And then we were the second phase. And then when we split up, because we were together about 2.5 years, and then we split up, Larry started a third phase. I don't know how long that phase lasted, but Larry was much more experienced than we were. Mm-hmm. So he'd done a lot of recording. He'd played in a recording act called the Lavender Hill Mob. He was their drummer because he was a drummer. There's lots of drummers that become lead singers for some reason, like Grohl or Steven Tyler.
Yeah.
And Larry was the same. So we met him, and he had a bunch of his own songs, and we're going, oh my God, like, you know, this is fantastic. And so we got it together, found a keyboard player actually, who didn't last very long, a guy from Chattagee, nice guy, but he was more of a loungy sort of deal, and we wanted to rock and roll. This is a rock and roll band. Still a rock and roll band, and we started gigging right off the hop, and we just played nonstop for almost 2.5 years. Wow. We played it was actually 2 years and 2 months, so 26 months. We did 440 shows.
Jesus.
We played almost every night. You know, there's travel and there's stuff we started going on the road, so that was a new thing for us. You know, we got a bus and, you know, school bus, the classics.
Did you have to do like the whole Newfoundland tour?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's the first place we went to.
Yeah.
And I was petrified. You know, Newfoundland. What's going to happen? Are we going to get beaten up? You know, whatever. Anyway, it was the polar opposite. We loved it. It was fantastic. The people were just so great. Yeah. You know, we just loved it. And anyway, but Larry taught us a whole bunch of things. Taught us to eat properly. You know. Taught us how to speak in public, how to work as a team. You know, we had meetings, you know, just stuff.
That's really valuable.
Really, really valuable. And lessons practices that we use to this day. Yeah. We always did. We always put our hands, the 5 of us put our hands in the middle before every set. And to this day in C-Spot Run and Orange Man, we do the same thing. All these years, that has never, ever, and only twice has somebody not participated in all those years. And there's only once each time. which was, and that was earth-shattering when it didn't happen. It's like, oh, okay, whoa, you know.
Well, I was going to ask you a little bit earlier when you were talking about your early days about having a plan and stuff. I think that's maybe a little more pertinent today to young people starting out, because they realize nothing just happens. Like, you just can't go out and become a rock star.
Nope.
But having a tutor who's not trying to siphon off revenue from the money you're making, is just truly there to advise and help you, that is invaluable help to get young people going. There's already enough, like, you know, probably wasn't as relevant or on the nose back in those days, but, you know, mental health, like, it's tough. You're telling me you did 400 and some odd gigs in a very short period of time. That's going to take a toll, whether you want to admit it or not.
Oh, absolutely.
And wonderful advice to eat properly, sleep properly. Don't do as many drugs as you want.
Yeah, but that stopped for me because I couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, when I started out, yeah, sure, every gig was a party and you'd drink whatever. And then I soon realized I wasn't having fun drinking and smoking at a gig because I wasn't.
No.
I was there to have fun performing and entertaining, and I wasn't doing a good job, and I knew it. So it was a very easy decision. Afterwards, which led to many 5 o'clock in the morning after parties, but at least
it's after.
It's after.
After.
My day job boss didn't think so, but
no, true. Well, I can chime in on that. The having a plan to, well, first of all, today the music business is so much different than it was. Back then, you could go out just like we did, a bunch of wet behind the ear kids could go out and learn a craft because you need the reps. It's like being an athlete. You need the reps. That's how you learn your craft. So
exactly.
You look at all those great James Brown, those artists, you know, that's what they did. They just played nonstop because they had to. They had to make a living.
Yes.
Scrape out a living.
Yes.
They all drove in the same car and whatever, you know. And that's how they got great by those reps. Of course, talent has something to do with it. Has a lot to do with it. But talent isn't the only thing. Determination, discipline, those stuff, and support group. Now, you can't just assemble a support group, you know. You're lucky if you get a support group because it's the music business, like the arts, dance, comedy, what have you, they're all the same. It's very, very difficult for any dancer to break through to make a name for themselves, you know. And these days, it's particularly hard with the way, you know, people have found different ways to reach audiences through TikTok and that sort of stuff, and that's I don't fault them for that. These are creative people that are trying to, you know, find a way because the infrastructure isn't there anymore. The old infrastructure isn't there anymore. Right. So, and of course, with the electronics and all the tools you have available to you, you can find a way to express yourself in a professional way. If you know. But you still need desire and discipline to, if you're going to make this your living, even it's hard to make a life decision when you're 21 years old because you can't see.
For sure.
You know, for me and for people like me, there was no question. I didn't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
You know, there's no way. I didn't want to do anything else. Nothing else I could do. Nothing else I wanted to do.
And you felt like that consistently?
Consistent. I mean, of course, I definitely had some. I had some really difficult periods that lasted months. Now, you know, I wasn't. I don't have mental health issues or anything like that. Although in my family, there's lots of mental health issues on my father's side of the family.
Sure.
Not that we were aware of it, but now we've become aware of it. You see, oh yeah, you know, you can stop. And I can feel things, but I didn't have any like debilitating, you know, mental things.
Yeah, nothing that shut you down.
But I saw it. We saw it.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
But in my periods, like any young person's, sometimes things just don't make sense. You're out on the road. Because I'll just very briefly, once Lyrics split up, I started another band called Energerm, and we didn't have any direction. We still wanted to rock, but we didn't have any real direction. One guy wanted to play rock. One guy wanted to play sort of progressive stuff, not one exclusively, but that sort of stuff. And by that time, the bass player of that band, Paul, and myself, we had discovered new wave stuff. So we discovered the Police, and we went, oh my God, that was, okay, we're going that way, And so that band, again, bunch of young guys, that we only lasted about 9 months. And then I met Chris and Tom, the brothers, and Paul Moore and myself. We had a meeting in my kitchen, and we all liked the same music. And we went into Chris and Tom's basement. We had a jam, and I went, "This is it." We were playing XTC. We had like the first 4 songs were "Message in a Bottle," "Making Plans for Nigel," whatever the other 2, "Mirror in the Bathroom" by the English Bee.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And this is it. This is where we're going.
Yeah.
And it felt right. It felt, okay, this fits now. The shirt actually fits, or the pants actually fit. Oh, this is great. And so from there, we literally went on the road immediately, and we never got off the road. So starting in 83, up until the time that Paul quit, so 6 straight years, we were out west, out east, and we'd have Christmas week off, and that'd be it. So,
and this is what act? What is the...
C-Spot Run.
Oh, so this is
C-Spot Run.
Okay.
Yeah. So we started 82, end of 82, after Energym fell apart. And but we found, this vehicle that we believed in, and we started writing songs. And but we're on the road, and then when you're on the road, you find out about each other very, very quickly.
Yes, you do.
Because we all live in the same rooms, we travel in the same van, and we managed pretty good, actually. The first 6 years we managed pretty good. There was some uncomfortable spots, no question, but nothing hysterical. Nothing.
No showstoppers.
No showstoppers. No bottles thrown at the wall or whatever it is. No alcoholics. No. We would run into all these things over time, but that first 6 years with the original 4 of us, but the road isn't the life for a lot of people.
It definitely is not.
Yeah, because it's very demanding, and it depends on what your upbringing is. Like for Chris and Tom and I, Chris and Tom had a very solid sort of upbringing, as did I. And Paul sort of moved between, and I love Paul all to pieces. He's one of my favorite people on this earth. But he came from a large family, and the parents had split up, and so they had lived in different places, apart and then together and apart. So he had sort of a mosaic of a childhood, happy, but a mosaic. And he needed. After 6 years, he goes, I can't do this. I got to be in one place. I'm just tired of... He met a girl, and...
Always a girl.
Yeah. I wasn't... No. It was... He needed to be grounded. The road life was not for him. He gave it everything he had.
I can definitely understand that.
Yeah.
It's hard,
for sure. And then 6 months later, Tom, Chris's brother, the same thing. He needed to... I just can't do this anymore. He didn't see it. He couldn't. Chris and I were so obsessed about moving forward. Like, we rehearsed every single day on the road. We rehearsed in bedrooms. Like, we had a very rigid schedule. We had every hour, Mondays, because you start the gig, we're sound check. You load in, you sound check. You do the gig, and Monday evenings were meetings. So we finished the gig at 1, 2 in the morning, and we'd have a meeting from 3 to 5 in the morning. That was Monday. Tuesday through Friday, we would rehearse wherever we could rehearse. We'd bring gear back to the hotel room. We'd do whatever. We'd rehearse every afternoon for 2 hours, do the gig, and then at night, because they're always rooming together, those were songwriting periods. And so one guy would have to get out of the room so one guy could write songs. So all 4 of us wrote songs. And so one guy, you'd go to Tim Hortons and sit for 2 hours. You'd bring whatever you had with you, your little Walkmans, listen, learn tunes, write lyrics, whatever it was. You have to get out of the hotel room. That's a Tuesday till Friday. Saturday, we'd rehearse Saturday afternoon, and then, of course, Saturday night. Generally, you'd do the gig and tear down, and then Sunday would be travel days. So we did that for 6 straight years. And it was very, very rigid, and there was no variation.
Now, were you managing yourselves at this time?
No, we had a manager.
You had a manager, but
Yeah.
was that manager truly dictating your path for you, or were you guys somewhat?
Oh, no, she taught us. No, she didn't. She didn't dictate so much. We looked to her for a lot of advice,
Okay.
which she provided, and she taught us almost everything we know. About being. Her and Larry taught us almost everything we know about being professionals.
Sure.
If you're sick, there's no nights off in rock and roll. You got to find a way. So and we got, like, not often, but sometimes we got really sick, and but there's no nights off. You just somehow Chris, I don't know how he did it. Chris has a bad back, and he couldn't move. He's like this.
I don't know.
He plays the bass, and he sings, and you know what it's like to sing. It's very physical. Right?
It is, yes. He's constantly moving your diaphragm.
Exactly, and he'd lie in the dressing room on the floor, dirty floor, just lie there, waiting for the next set.
Oh my gosh.
Get up and go do it. And there's all kinds of stories like that. Nasty. But anyway, we were just so determined that we're just going to, we don't know, we'll just keep going. That's what we did. And it took a long, long time. But to get back to the original premise of this thing, for young people today, that's not there anymore. You don't have places to go and play every single night to learn to be a musician the way we understand a musician to be.
Right.
If you're super good, like I know a guy that plays in the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, he plays clarinet. He's brilliant. So he's got a career.
Yes.
Very comfortable career. But for every one of him, there's 100,000 other young people today that can only dream of getting a gig like that.
Yeah.
So he went to school. Of course, he's exceptionally talented. Way more, of course, talent is subjective, but certainly way more schooled than any of the guys I've ever played with, and myself included, of course, because I don't read music. But I feel for these young kids, not just the kids, but I feel for the people these days, because the business is a business. So the people in the business that aren't musicians are there because it's a business, and that business, the premise of that business is to make money. So they'll do whatever. They'll coerce you. They'll do whatever. When you start making records, which we started doing, and we got a record contract after all those years, and we all those thousands and thousands of hours we put in writing, recording, arranging songs, and all that, it finally paid off in some form. And we started getting on the radio, and we started making videos and touring with other acts and stuff, and it was very exciting, and it was very gratifying. But it took a long, long time. But those avenues aren't there anymore. So these young people, you wonder, okay, well, they're in their room with their laptop, and they got their keyboard, and they got their software, and they're doing their thing. The talent doesn't go away. The talent is always there, but a lot of it is lying, in my opinion, dormant. Of course, music has changed a lot. The instrument is no longer the sort of end result of learning to play an instrument is no longer required. Whether you're a singer, of course,
Yes.
singers, it's an instrument, but you can fix everything.
Yes.
You can fake everything.
Yeah.
And I use that, I don't use that pejoratively fake. But you can fix everything.
Well, sorry, but this does hits a sensitive point for me. Is so as you said, young performers, artists, singer-songwriters, whatever. There's just not a lot of places to go out and work your craft, and you don't. You said, you alluded to it with the whole touring things. You don't really get better till you get in front of an audience, and one night your favorite song will go perfectly, the next night it will suck balls. But you have to go through all those experiences to find out where you are, and then as the years go by, young people don't have that opportunity. And so this turns quickly into a conversation I was having yesterday regarding AI. There was some talking heads on TV saying how there's all these like hit songs coming out, which are, you can tell, I mean, I can tell they're AI, but at the same time, if the computer and the software can put out the same thing that some young person in their apartment can put together, which is realer? I mean, the song is the song, so it's really confusing as to what to do, where to stand on that point.
I know.
Because I come from your school, which is get out there and play, and play as often, and blood, sweat, and tears.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
And you will, but as you cap that off, you said, you don't really have to be a virtuoso on your instrument anymore. Even your vocals, though obviously you do have to know how to do this, but you can fix it in the mix for the most part.
Yeah, and again, I don't discredit the artists of today. I just believe a lot of the talent is lying dormant. It hasn't gone away. You know, record companies want to make money, and they will only, because all a record company is a bank. They lend you money, and you got to pay it all back. So if you have a lavish, like Guns N' Roses when they first started, they got their advance. They blew the whole advance. Yeah. They owe that advance, and they made it back. But a lot of bands don't make it back. Yes. They don't pay it back because they don't make it.
The one-hit wonders.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so record companies, such as they are these days, because there are only 3 of them, as far, they're all under umbrellas, right? UMG or whatever they are. Yeah. They buy up all these little labels, and so they have all these boutique labels, and that's cool, but they don't take chances. There used to be a department in each record company called A&R, Artist and Repertoire. And they would take a band like the Tragically Hip. They'd hear about them, one guy in the record company, because record companies were people.
Yep.
And they're music lovers, supposed to be music lovers, some more than others. But certainly it was very, the business was very profitable, but also very exciting for the record people back, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s, because the music is so great, and they were excited to be there. And so it was, even though perhaps the distribution of funds wasn't equitable, wasn't always equitable. At least the people that were in the record companies loved music, right? And it wasn't just okay. I need content. This is the new word: is content. It's not music; it's content. Okay, wait a minute. Music is a visceral thing. It's a people feel it. They feel it very deeply, and I always think of this one example, which I like to use. We played, 15 years ago, doesn't matter. We played a wedding in Toronto, and there was no music. There was no "Here Comes the Bride." There was no background music. There was nothing. And so we're sitting there, because people, when we would get hired for weddings, they liked us particularly. So they wanted a rock and roll band for their wedding. So that means they wanted us for their wedding. So they wanted us to be part of their wedding, not just to play, some anonymous band. Yeah. And so you're always there for the whole day. Yeah. And you're hanging, you do your thing. And so you're part of the ceremony and all that sort of stuff. And so we're sitting there, and it was in the oldest school in Canada, the oldest primary school or something in Canada, somewhere in the east part of Toronto. We're sitting there, beautiful place. And there's no music. At all. And it was so weird. So the bride and the groom come up, and they're lovely, and they do their vows and all that. And then we move over to the reception hall and whatever, and we're all set up, but we have to wait for dinner to be over. So we're there for 4 hours, and not one note of music is played. It's like being in a doctor's office. And I thought, this is who didn't think of this? The wedding planner or whatever. Oh, just put some background music on, whatever. Put the radio on. Because music, it can irritate people, of course, but it can really soothe people,
Yes.
And people have a very intense connection to the vibration of it, right? Because we vibrate, and music vibrates.
Sure, yeah.
And we vibrate together.
It's a physical thing.
It's a physical thing. So when you're in a big show, you go see Paul McCartney, and everybody's singing Obladi Oblada, whatever they're singing, everybody's singing. There's 20,000 people, and there's this energy that you cannot deny. There's this collective energy. And that's what music is, in my view. And so I'm sad that the business has become what's the word, reduced, I'm looking for a word, doesn't matter, but has been whittled down to content. It's content. We're musicians are now content creators. Content is the coffee in this thermos. That's content. Or the contents of your character. That's content. Not somebody's hard-fought effort to create something musical,
Absolutely.
And this whole AI thing is like, anyway, that's a discussion for another day.
We are coming to our time here.
Okay.
And I would like very much if you would consider coming back for another time.
Oh, for sure.
There's so many topics we didn't touch on, AI being one of them, the current state of the gigging market, such as it is out there. And you are a working musician, so lots of stuff to talk about there. So maybe later this summer we can come back on out. Just to cap off, I was looking for this quote. It pertains to our last little subject. There's Hunter S. Thompson, one of my favorite quotes of his is, "The entertainment industry is a cruel and shallow money trench, a long plastic hallway where thieves and pimps run free and good men and women die like dogs. There's also a negative side."
That's right. That's exactly.
So, young kids, if you are looking forward to a life of the entertainment industry, steel yourselves now.
I know, steel yourselves.
Randy, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
It's great seeing you again.
Yeah.
I just want to mention, I was going to do it at the beginning, but you were the first musician I ever did sound for. It was at Lindsay Place.
It was at Lindsay.
It was on the upper gym stage. I was just there doing like background music. I don't know what it was like. It was some sort of graduation, but it wasn't the full on. Anyway, I just remember. I think it was Mr. Holt came over and said, "Oh, we have a fellow coming up to play guitar." And I'm like, okay, I've never done that.
I know. What?
And there you were like this idyllic 70s rock star. You had this long flowing mane of blonde hair. And I don't even remember what you played, but you were a rock star to me. And you were a couple of years older, so in high school, that's a lifetime.
It's a lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But from that moment on, I knew who Randy Bowen was. I've watched you in... Your career path, Wiggle Waggle. I remember Energerm. I remember
sure
going to a house party where you guys were playing, and then next thing I knew, C Spot Run was there, and you guys are still gigging, right?
Yep.
Well, good for you, and you're gigging
Yep.
regularly every week. So I want to talk about that more another time. But
Sounds great.
Again, thank you so much for
Pleasure,
coming in.
Dave. Yeah, this is great. It's an important. These are important stories to tell.
Sure.
You know, I not just my story, but these are important stories for young people.
Yes, and I'm trying to invite people to come and talk about their experiences from the old days. You know, if you played during the 80s,
Sure.
it's a different world in the 2020s.
Totally.
So it's a good juxtaposition. Probably not a lot of young people relate to what we're talking about, but it is history. And
It's history for the record.
You can only learn from it.
That's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Okay, Dave.
Cheers, bud.
Yeah, cheers.
Well, all right, that's a wrap. Huge thanks to Randy Bowen for pulling up a stool and hanging out. If you liked what you heard, go check him out. Support local music. Go to a show, buy some merch, make some noise. Before we go, one last check-in. How's your stool? I'm Dave Randall. This is Howz Yer Stool, and we'll catch you next time.